The stepmother said, "It's no use. You are not coming with us, for you have no clothes and you don't know how to dance. We would be ashamed of you." With that, she turned her back on Cinderella and hurried away with her 2 proud daughters. Now that no one was at home, Cinderella went to her mother's grave beneath the hazel tree, and she cried out, "Shake and quiver, little tree, throw your gold and silver down to me." Then the bird threw a gold and silver dress down to her, and slippers embroidered with silk and silver. She quickly put on the dress and went to the festival. Her stepsisters and stepmother did not recognize her. They thought she must be a foreign princess, for she looked so beautiful in the golden dress. They never once thought it was Cinderella, for they thought she was at home in the dirt, looking for lint in the ashes. The prince approached her, took her by the hand, and danced with her. Furthermore, he would dance with no one else. He would never let go of her hand, and whenever anyone else came to ask to dance with her, he would say, "She is my dance partner." She danced until evening. Then she wanted to go home. But the prince said, "I will go along and escort you," for he wanted to see whom the beautiful girl belonged. However, she eluded him and jumped into the pigeon coop. The prince waited until her father came, and then he told him that the unknown girl had jumped into the pigeon coop. The old man thought, could it be Cinderella? He had them bring him an axe and a pick so he could break the pigeon coop apart, but no one was inside. When they got home, Cinderella was laying in the ashes, dressed in her dirty clothes. A dim little oil lamp was burning in the fireplace. Cinderella had quickly jumped down from the back of the pigeon coop and had run to the hazel tree. There she had taken off her beautiful clothes and laid them on the grave, and the bird had taken them away. Then, dressed in her gray smock, she had returned to the ashes in the kitchen. The next day, when the festival began anew and her parents and her stepsisters had gone, Cinderella went to the hazel tree and said, "Shake and quiver, little tree, throw your gold and silver down to me." Then the bird threw down the dress, and Cinderella appeared at the festival. Everyone was astonished at her beauty. The prince had waited until she came, then immediately took her hand and danced only with her. When others came and asked her to dance with them, he said, "She is my dance partner." When evening came, she wanted to leave, and the prince followed her, wanting to see into which house she went, but she ran far away from him and into the garden behind the house. A tall tree stood there, one which hung with the most magnificent pears. She climbed and as nimbly as a squirrel into the branches, and the prince did not know which she had gone. He waited until the father came, and then said to him, "The unknown girl has eluded me, and I believe she has climbed into the pear tree." The father thought, could it be Cinderella? He had an axe brought to him and cut down the tree, but no one was in it. When they came to the kitchen, Cinderella was laying there in the ashes as usual. She had jumped down from the other side of the tree and had taken the beautiful dress back to the bird in the hazel tree, and they had her put on her gray smock. On the third day, when her parents and sister had gone away, Cinderella went again to her mother's grave and said to the tree, "Shake and quiver, little tree, throw your gold and silver down to me." The bird threw down the dress and had slippers that were of pure gold. When she arrived at the festival in this dress, everyone was so astonished that they did not know what to say. The prince danced with only her. Whenever anyone else asked to dance with her, he would say, "She is my dance partner." When evening came, Cinderella wanted to leave, and the prince tried to escort her, but she ran away from him so quickly he could not follow her. The prince, however, had set up a trap. He had the entire stairway smeared with pitch. When she ran down the stairs, she left the slipper stuck in it. The prince picked it up, and it was small and dainty and of pure gold. The next morning he went with it to the man and said to him, "No one shall be my wife except for the one whose foot fits this golden shoe." The 2 sisters were happy to hear this, for they had pretty feet. When her mother was standing by, the older one took the shoe into her bedroom and tried it on. She could not get her big foot into it, for the shoe was too small for her. Then her mother gave her a knife and said, "Cut off your toes. When you are the queen, you will no longer have to go on foot." The girl cut off her toe, forced her foot into the shoe, swallowed the pain, and went out to the prince. She took her to his horse as his bride and rode away with her. However, they had to ride past the grave, and there on the hazel tree sat 2 pigeons crying out, "Rook-de-goo, rook-de-goo, there's blood in the shoe. The shoe is too tight, this bride is not right." Then he looked at her foot and saw how the blood was running from it. He turned his horse around and took the false bride back home. saying that she was not the right one and that the other sister could try the shoe on. She went to her bedroom and got her toe into the shoe all right, but her heel was too large. Then her mother gave her a knife and said, "Cut off a piece of your heel. When you are queen, you will no longer have to go on foot." The girl cut off a piece of her heel, forced her foot into the shoe, swallowed the pain, and went out to the prince. He took her on his horse as his bride and rode away with her. When they passed by the hazel tree, the pigeons were sitting there, and they cried out, "Rook-de-goo, rook-de-goo, there's blood in the shoe. The shoe is too tight. This bride is not right." He looked down at her foot and saw that the blood was running out of her shoe and how it stained her stockings all in red. Then he turned his horse around and took the false bride back home again. "This is not the right one either," he said. "Don't you have another daughter?" "No," said the man. "There is only the deformed little Cinderella from my first wife, but she could not possibly be the bride." The prince told him to send her to him, but the mother answered, "Oh no, she is too dirty. She cannot be seen." But the prince insisted, and they had to call Cinderella. She washed her hands and face clean and went and bowed down before the prince, who gave her the golden shoe. She sat down on the stool, pulled her foot out of the heavy wooden shoe, and put it into the slipper, and it fit perfectly. When she stood up, the prince looked into her face, and he recognized the beautiful girl who had danced with him. He cried out, "She is my true bride." The stepmother and the two stepsisters were horrified and turned pale with anger. The prince, however, took Cinderella onto his horse and rode away with her, and as they passed by the hazel tree, the two pigeons cried out, "Rook-de-goo, rook-de-goo, no blood is in the shoe. The shoe is not too tight. This bride is just right." After they cried out, they both flew down and sat on Cinderella's shoulder, one on the right, the other on the left, and remained sitting there. When the wedding with the prince was to be held, the two false sisters came, wanting to gain the favor with Cinderella and to share her good fortune. When the bridal couple walked into the church, the older sister walked on her right, and the younger sister walked on their left. And the pigeons pecked out one eye on each of them. Afterwards, they came out of the church. The older was on the left side, and the younger was on the right side, and then the pigeons pecked out the other eyes for each of them. And thus, for their wickedness and falsehood, they were punished with blindness for as long as they lived.